everybody, it's Barbara. Today I'm going to show you how I made this card front, I altered it to hold a pouch of hot cocoa without making it pooch out. As you can see, it's about 1/4 of an inch deep. I started off with a Sweet Tooth cardstock base, and then I used some Ranger watercolor, stenciled on a little ink with a large grid stencil, and then did a splatter pattern with distressed patterns. Then I have a little piece of trim that I'm going to add to the front, and I made that with Candy Stripes background, and then I have all the little pieces that I have to add to the front of the card that I made with Lana Lamb Designs, Hug in a Mug, and Hot Cocoa Die-namics, Hot Cocoa Cups. And you can see I've already got everything ready here. I've stamped a little mince. I have the marshmallows cut out. I have the sentiment already embossed. And I'm mainly going to show you how I created the pouch for the front of the card. And then we'll put it all together. So I'm going to set all this aside now. And to make the pouch work, I cut a strip of Sweet Tooth cardstock 3/4 of an inch wide and the length of the cardstock. I'm going to have to run it all around the inside of that piece, but as you can tell, it's not going to bend around there, so I'll show you how I did that. First of all, I'm going to score it 1/4 of an inch from each side all the way, and that will give us start giving us our dimension. So just score it really well all the way the whole length. And then I'm going to fold it up and with my fingers, and once I get the whole long edge folded up, I'm going to make sure I've got it really scored well with my bone folder. I want a nice sharp crease, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, folding it up all the way along, and then making sure that my crease is nice and sharp, because we're going to make a little pouch to slip that packet of hot cocoa mix down into. And it's not going to distort your card front. So as you see, we have sort of a little trough now that the packet will fit into. And again, you have to bend it around all 3 sides of that piece, and obviously that's not going to work. So we're going to have to adjust that. I've already measured, and you can use this technique on anything, but you'll have to do your own measurements depending on what you're using. I've already measured this, and I'm going to now just snip to the score lines. Not all the way through, just to the score lines, and you'll see how now I can bend that up and create the shape that I need, the corners. And now I'm going to move it down a little bit further and do the same thing again. I'm going to snip it on both sides so that I can bend that side up. And then you'll see that we will have, and now I've got all 3 sides accounted for. And I'll bend that up and crease that really well so I can have a nice sharp corner on both sides. And then here you can see how we've got this little trough that's going to go around that piece there for the front. Now I'm going to have to attach it to itself so it doesn't come apart. I guess you could just go ahead and put the tape on it to attach it to the card front, but I would rather make sure that it was sturdy and held together well first. As you can see, I'm just putting some tiny pieces of tape there, just really so it will hold its shape while I attach it to the card front and to the panel that I've stamped and stenciled. So I'm going to do that on both of the corners, and it will be ready to assemble. Just a tiny little piece really of ScorTape that I'm using here. I want something that's going to hold really, really well, and now I'm going to assemble it. And obviously I didn't get that stuck down well because it came right off. And I don't want to reuse it because, like I said, I really want this to stick well, so I'll just put a new piece on there. And now take my backing off. of both sides of this corner, swing it up, and stick it together. And I'll just use some forceps to kind of mash them together really well. Once it's on the card, it'll be fine. But until I get it there, I want to make sure that it sticks together. So now I'm going to do the other side. And I'll have 2 right angles once this is all put together. And now you see that my trough is quite dimensional, and the packet of hot cocoa mix will slide right down in there once it's on the card front. And there's plenty of thickness for it, and it won't make your little front panel pooch out like it would if you just glued it down to the card front. Nothing wrong with that in some cases, but if you are going to really embellish your card front, you don't want to distort your embellishments. So I prefer a perfectly flat one. So now I'm going to add ScorTape to the to my trough, and I want to make sure to know exactly how far to cut off that longer end because it's too long. So I'm going to take off about 1 inch because I want it down, I don't know, 1/2 inch or so from the top of the angle there. So now it's ready to finish taping up. And I'll remove the backing. And it will be ready to put onto that front panel. Make sure that it's stuck down really, really well because you don't want it to come off, especially before you can attach it and get it seated down properly. So you'll just attach it to your front panel. Now I have made mine short enough that around the bottom and the sides it's moved inside the outside edge about 1/8 inch all the way around, just so that it won't show too much underneath, and it's still plenty big for the cocoa packet, as you can see. Of course, depending on what you want to put in your pouch, you'll have to make to adjust your measurements accordingly. So now I'm going to put tape on the other side of my trough because now it's ready to be applied to the card front. Again, just using ScorTape. I'm using 1/8 inch here. You could get away with 1/4 inch, but I didn't want any overlap that would stick to something else. So this doesn't have to be strong enough to hold a bar of gold or anything. It's just a packet of cocoa. So just so you've got it stuck well to your card front, you're going to be good to go. And now that's what I'm getting ready to do. I'm going to put it on my card front, and I'm going to space it just like I would if that panel was going right down on the card front, or if I was going to pop it up with foam. I'm going to place it the very same way. And now I'm going to run my bone folder inside and press down really, really well so I can be sure that it is adhered completely. Okay, so now the pocket is made, and now I'm going to go ahead and put all my embellishments on. This is a little strip, as I mentioned earlier, that I found it in my scrap drawer that I had made earlier, and it's perfect for this card. So it's just a little strip to go on that angle there. And now my sentiment. And it's going to be popped up on foam because I like some dimension on my cards. And then my cup, I cut that out of watercolor paper and I watercolored it and embossed the snowflake in the center. And I've already glued in the cocoa in the cup. And I've placed it now on the card front, and I wanted it to overlap the sentiment a little bit. Next I'm going to add my little mints. One of them is going straight down on the cup, and then the other one I'm going to pop up with some foam. Just make sure that it's adhered well. And then my little candy bar or little piece of chocolate is also being popped up. And it's going to go on top of the mints. Just make sure you get it stuck well. And now my little marshmallows. These are the cutest little things. I'm putting 2 of them directly on the chocolate in the cup, and then the third one I'm going to pop up on a little piece of foam for some dimension. They're tiny, but they're so cute. And now it's ready for your little cocoa packet. What a sweet little gift to take to a hostess, or just to give to anyone that you wanted to thank for something over the holidays. Thanks for watching.